your kids in stress, but I'ma do my best to get through any mess. I do it with my chest. I will never give up. I will always stay strong. Keep my head up. Even if I'm wrong, I'ma stay strong. Stronger than you know. Should have known what you was doing when you walked out that door.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now at 6, a Cobb County church goes up in flames, and members say it happened after they received threats.
Monday night, September 29th, Austell, Georgia. Flames ripped through the roof of a 20,000 square foot house of worship. The heat is so intense, firefighters can barely get close. By the time they do, it's already too late. Hours later, everything is gone. Not damaged, not salvageable. Gone. Prayer City Eagles Chapel, International Ministries, reduced to rubble. But here's what makes this fire different. Have you ever trusted someone only to watch them destroy everything you built? Maybe it was a friend, a partner, someone you let into your life, believing they shared your values. And then one day, without warning, they turned on you. That's exactly what happened here. Because this wasn't an accident. This wasn't faulty wiring or a forgotten candle. This was Arson's show. Planned, executed, brutal. And the proof? Text messages. Sent days before the fire. Messages that warned exactly what was coming. Messages that said, the building will burn. Messages that said, people will die. The church leaders read them, and at first, they didn't believe it. They thought it was a sick joke. But when the flames consumed everything they had rebuilt, every chair, every wall, every dollar they'd scraped together after their last disaster, the joke became evidence. Within 24 hours, investigators had their suspect, a former church member. A woman who once sat in those same pews. A woman whose digital footprint led straight to the scene of the crime. By the end of this story, you'll see how a trail of threatening texts became the smoking gun that brought down a vengeful arsonist. But here's the question that still haunts everyone involved. Why did she do it? What could possibly happen between someone and their church, between a believer and the leader she once followed, that would drive her to erase it all? If stories like this grip you the way they grip me, hit that like button, because we're just getting started and you won't want to miss what comes next. Why did she do it? This question will thread through every chapter, escalating as we uncover more evidence, more destruction, and more mystery, but never a clear answer. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. Monday, September 29th, Austell, Georgia, somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. Prayer City Eagles Chapel. International Ministries sits on Joe Jerkins Boulevard, about 17 miles west of downtown Atlanta. It's massive, 20,000 square feet of worship space, community gatherings, and faith. That night, it became an inferno. Fire crews got the call and rushed to the scene. But by the time they arrived, flames were already punching through the roof. The structure was fully involved. The kind of fire that doesn't ask permission. It takes everything. They fought it for hours, pouring water, cutting through walls, doing everything they could to save what was left. But there was nothing left to save. Pastor Raphael Grant wasn't at the church when it started. He was at home when his phone rang. One of the church leaders on the other end, voice shaking. Pastor, is everyone safe? The church is on the news. Grant didn't wait. He jumped in his car and drove straight there. But even as he sped through the streets, he knew. You don't get a call like that unless something catastrophic has already happened. When he pulled up, the scene confirmed it. Firefighters everywhere. Police tape, news cameras, and behind all of it, smoke rising from what used to be his church. The building was gone, not partially destroyed, not damaged beyond repair. Obliterated. Everything inside, chairs, equipment, walls, the sanctuary where his congregation had gathered just 2 days earlier, reduced to ash and rubble. Grant stood there staring at the wreckage, trying to process what he was seeing. But one thought kept pushing through the shock. How did this happen? The Austell Fire Department had the same question, and they weren't waiting around for answers. They immediately called in the state fire marshal's office to conduct a full investigation. Because something about this fire didn't sit right. Fires like this don't just happen. Not like this. Not this fast. Investigators combed through the wreckage, sifting through debris, looking for the origin point. And that's when they found it. A plastic container, melted, scorched, but still intact enough to identify what it had held. Ignitable liquid, an accelerant. Pastor Grant confirmed it to investigators on the spot. That container didn't belong to the church. No one there had any reason to have something like that on the property, which meant someone brought it, someone used it, someone wanted this building to burn. This wasn't an electrical fire. It wasn't an accident. It was arson. First-degree arson. But there was more. Investigators found evidence of forced entry. Whoever set the fire didn't have a key. They broke in. That added burglary and criminal trespass to the growing list of charges. And because the target was a house of worship, a place where people come to pray, to find peace, to build community, the state added another charge: vandalism of a place of worship. Then there was the container itself, possessing tools specifically intended to commit a felony. Another charge. The legal weight was already crushing, but investigators knew they were still missing the most important piece. Who did this? And more importantly, why? Because fires like this don't come out of nowhere. They come from rage, from hatred, from someone who wanted to send a message. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. The fire wasn't a surprise to everyone.
A woman is behind bars today, accused of burning a Cobb County church to the ground and threatening to kill the pastor. Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Beimfor is live outside of Prayer City Eagles Chapel International Ministries. This is in Austell. Chelsea, the pastor says he actually knows the suspect.
Yeah, Carly, he says this woman had come to church services here before and allegedly threatened other people in the congregation here in the past, but that pastor never expected to get a call saying that his sanctuary was on fire. Pastor Raphael Grant of Prayer City Eagles Chapel International Ministries says he forgives this woman, Aries Jordan, for allegedly setting fire to his church Monday night.
You have to be possessed by a demon to do something like that. You cannot be a logical, rational human being to do that.
Arrest warrants say Jordan allegedly used an ignitable liquid to accelerate the flames and sent text messages to Pastor Grant and his wife threatening to kill them. She's now facing charges of arson, vandalism, burglary, and more.
She has visited the church in the past, and she has sent a lot of threats. And one of the text messages, she made mention that she was going to burn down the church.
Pastor Grant says they have previously reported threats from Jordan to law enforcement, even filing a restraining order against her. Cobb County court records show another man also filed a limited contact order against Jordan last year after she was convicted of threatening to kill him and his family at a local motel. Now that the smoke has cleared, Pastor Grant says his congregation must move forward, keep the faith, and rebuild.
The place is completely gone, and so we have to build from the scratch, and so we need all the financial support in order to do that.
Days before the flames consumed the building, someone sent a warning, a digital confession laid out in text messages that detailed exactly what was about to happen. And investigators were about to uncover exactly who sent them. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to share 2 critical tips on how to detect signs of severe mental distress in people around you, and what to do before it's too late. Who did this, and why? Days before the fire, church leaders started receiving text messages, not prayer requests, not encouragement, threats, specific threats, graphic threats. The building will burn. People will be shot. The messages came from a woman who used to attend Eagles Chapel, someone they recognized, someone they'd seen in services, sitting among the congregation, singing the same hymns, praying the same prayers. Now she was promising violence. Jackie Tamo, the wife of an assistant pastor, was one of the recipients. She remembers reading the messages and feeling a knot form in her stomach. One message in particular stuck with her. The building is gone. Not will be gone. Is gone. Like it had already happened. Like she'd already seen the future and was just letting them know. At first, Jackie didn't know what to make of it. The messages were so extreme, so over the top that they didn't feel real. She thought maybe it was just someone venting, Someone angry, blowing off steam in the worst possible way. A joke, a horrible, tasteless joke. But when the church turned into rubble that Monday night, the joke became evidence. Every message, every word, every threat, suddenly they weren't empty words anymore. They were a confession, a blueprint, a promise kept. Investigators moved fast. They interviewed church leaders, collected the text messages, and cross-referenced them with witness statements. Within hours, they had a name. Aries Maliah Jordan, 25 years old. Some reports said 26, former church member. Not someone who'd been there for years, but someone who'd attended briefly. Long enough to form connections. Long enough to have interactions with church leadership. Long enough to develop a grudge. Authorities coordinated across multiple agencies. Austell Fire Department, Cobb County Police, the State Fire Marshal's Office. Everyone was on the same page. Find her, now, because this wasn't just arson. This was premeditated destruction backed by direct threats against the pastor and his wife. Threats to burn the building. Threats to kill people. Terroristic threats. And by late Tuesday night, less than 24 hours after the fire, they found her. Aries Maliah Jordan was apprehended at an apartment complex in Mableton, Georgia. No chase, no standoff. Just a quiet arrest in a quiet complex. She didn't run. She didn't resist. But the evidence against her was already overwhelming. She didn't just threaten them. She told them exactly what she was going to do. And then she did it. The plastic container found at the scene, the text messages on multiple phones, the timeline that matched perfectly, the motive still unclear, but the intent, crystal clear. The judge reviewing the charges didn't hesitate. Bond denied. Aries Maliah Jordan was deemed too dangerous to release, a flight risk, a threat to the community, especially to the people she'd named in her messages, Pastor Raphael Grant and his wife. She was going to stay locked up until trial. But here's what investigators couldn't figure out. Who was Aries Maliah Jordan? And what could possibly drive someone from sitting in the pews on Sunday to burning the whole place down by Monday night? What happened between her and the church? That's the question everyone wanted answered. Investigators, the media, the congregation, the public watching from their screens. Here's what we know. She's 25 years old, maybe 26, depending on the report. Her mugshot was released to the public, a face now tied to one of the most destructive acts of targeted violence Cobb County had seen in years. She was arrested in Mableton, Georgia. She'd been a member of Eagles Chapel, briefly, and that's where the facts run out. Because beyond her name, her age, and her arrest, there's almost nothing. No detailed background, no public records about her family, no information about where she worked, what she did for a living, or what her life looked like before this moment. It's a void, a vacuum. And in true crime, the motive is everything. Without it, you're left with a crime that makes no sense. What we do know is this. Aries Maliah Jordan attended Eagles Chapel for a short time. And during that time, she had interactions with church leadership. But what kind of interactions? Was it a disciplinary issue? Did she break a rule? Challenge a teaching? Get called out publicly in front of the congregation? Was it financial? Did she feel pressured to give more than she could afford? Did she ask for help and get turned away? Was it personal? Did she confide in someone, maybe the pastor, maybe his wife, and feel betrayed when things didn't go the way she expected? Or was it something else entirely? A romantic rejection? A friendship that soured? A perceived slight that festered into obsession? We don't know, and that's what makes this so unsettling. Because whatever happened, it was enough to turn her from a worshiper into an arsonist. From someone seeking community into someone who wanted to destroy it completely.
Police say the woman who set the fire is now charged with arson and other offenses. The church pastor says that woman made threats to him and the church. Channel 2's Audrey Washington is live now in Austell. Audrey, the pastor believes that woman was not well.
He actually told me that only a demon would burn down a church like this. Right now, we are actually standing behind the tape here, but when my photographer Dana pushes in, you can really see how the fire gutted the church. The roof is gone, the newly renovated office space, burnt rubble.
We were not expecting this, but we had some signs.
Members, along with the pastor, say they were not surprised by the arrest. They tell us Jordan, who once came to the church to be, quote, delivered, threatened to burn down the church in the past.
Pastor Raphael Grant's response tells you how blindsided everyone was. When asked about Aries Maliah Jordan, he didn't talk about past conflicts or unresolved tensions. He said she must be possessed by a demon. He called it the work of an evil force. Those aren't the words of someone who saw this coming. Those are the words of someone who can't make sense of what just happened. Someone searching for an explanation beyond the human. Because how do you reconcile it? How do you go from leading someone in prayer to watching them burn your church to the ground? What kind of pain or rage festers inside someone to the point where they don't just walk away, don't just stop attending, don't just move on with their life, but decide to erase everything? That's the question no one can answer yet. Investigators are still digging. They're looking into her history, her mental health records, any documentation from the church about what led to her departure. But so far, the motive remains a mystery. And here's what makes this even more tragic. If you're finding this as gripping as I am, drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed someone change in a way no one saw coming? Someone you thought you knew, until one day you realized you didn't know them at all? Let's talk about it. Why did she do it? What happened between her and the church? Here's what makes this even worse. This wasn't the first time Eagles Chapel had been destroyed. A few years earlier, during a Christmas freeze, pipes burst throughout the building. Water flooded everywhere. The damage was catastrophic. The congregation spent years rebuilding. Years. They exhausted their savings, held fundraisers, scraped together every dollar they could find just to restore what they'd lost. And they did it. They finished the renovation. The administration area reopened the Thursday before the fire. Brand new chairs, brand new equipment, everything fresh, everything ready. That Sunday, the congregation gathered and worshiped in their newly restored sanctuary. Monday night, it all turned to ash. But here's the cruelest part. The church was uninsured. No insurance company would cover them while the reconstruction was still underway. So when the fire hit, when $4 million worth of property burned to the ground, there was no safety net, no payout, no financial relief, just loss. They rebuilt once, and now they have to do it all over again, from nothing. Pastor Grant didn't waste time. He launched a GoFundMe campaign asking for $4 million to rebuild. He quoted scripture, Nehemiah 2:20, "The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding." The next Sunday, he held service in the parking lot, right next to the caution tape, right next to the rubble. His message to the congregation: we will rebuild better and stronger than before. But while the congregation gathers strength, the legal system is preparing to deliver justice. Will justice provide the answers they're searching for? Before we get to the final chapter, I want to honor the promise I made at the beginning, because this case, like so many others, raises a question we can't ignore. Could this have been prevented? Here are 2 tips that could save lives. Tip number 1, how to detect severe mental distress in others. Watch for sudden personality shifts, especially increased aggression or paranoia. Someone who used to be calm but now explodes over small things. Pay attention to fixation. If someone won't stop talking about how they've been wronged, how they've been treated unfairly, how someone owes them, that obsession is a warning sign. Notice isolation. When someone withdraws from friends, family, and normal social circles, they're often sinking into a dangerous place. Never dismiss escalating threats, even if they're framed as jokes, even if they seem over the top. Threats are rehearsals, and watch for loss of emotional control, explosive anger, unpredictable mood swings. When someone can't regulate their emotions anymore, violence becomes a real possibility. Tip number 2, what to do if you notice these signs. Don't dismiss it. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Reach out privately, ask direct questions. Are you okay? I've noticed you've been different lately. Encourage professional help. Suggest therapy or counseling. Offer to help them find resources. And if threats are made, even vague ones, alert authorities. It's not overreacting. It's protecting lives. If you're struggling, reach out. Talk to someone. You're not alone. Now back to justice. The charges against Aries Maliah Jordan are staggering. Arson in the first degree, burglary, vandalism of a place of worship, making terroristic threats directed specifically at Pastor Raphael Grant and his wife, possession of tools for the commission of a crime, criminal trespass. Each charge carries years. Stack them together and she's looking at decades behind bars. The judge didn't hesitate. Bond denied. Aries Maliah Jordan posed a clear danger to the community and to the victims she'd named in her threats. She wasn't going anywhere until trial. The timeline moved quickly. Arrested late Tuesday night. Case transferred to Cobb County Superior Court. Grand jury indictment pending. Trial date to be determined. And the evidence? Overwhelming. Digital threats sent days before the fire. A plastic container filled with ignitable liquid recovered at the scene. Witness testimony from church leaders who received the messages. Physical proof of forced entry. The defense has an uphill battle. This isn't a case built on circumstantial evidence or shaky witness accounts. This is a case built on her own words and the physical destruction that followed. But even if Aries Maliah Jordan is convicted and sentenced, the question that haunts this case remains. Why? What happened between her and the church leadership that turned faith into fury? We may never know. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all. This case is a study in targeted destruction. Digital premeditation meeting physical violence. A community struck at its most vulnerable moment. But Eagles Chapel isn't giving up. They're rebuilding. Again. The $4 million GoFundMe is still active. The congregation refuses to be erased. If this story moved you, share it. Someone in your life needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because True Crime Footprint is just getting started and you don't want to miss what's next. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think we'll ever understand her motive? Or are some acts of violence beyond comprehension? If you are led, kindly reach out to the church and donate whatever pleases you, for a giver never lack. Thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.